I'm Mark James. Welcome again to the Beech Grove Scouting Report, our conversations with Beech Grove head football coach Mark Weller. I might have to force him back down in the chair a little bit, folks. Sky high. We're recording this on a Tuesday morning, the Tuesday after the most recent contest, an ICC contest against the Scecina Crusaders. Coach, congratulations. Big win, 52-21, the final Friday night.
Thanks, Mark. I tell you, I can't be prouder of our kids. They really rose to the occasion. And, you know, I think the thing that really summarizes that game, and probably the thing I'm most proud of, walking across the field after the game, talking to Coach Ott Hurley, who's a dear friend of mine for years and years, he said, you guys just kicked our butts. He said, you really took it to us. He said, that's a huge improvement in your program.
Well, I went back through the records a ways, and maybe we'll track down the voice of the Hornets, Jim Pick, at some point, because if anyone knows, he would. Do we have any idea when the last time was that we were able to knock off Speedway and Scecina in the same season? I know we haven't been playing them every year for a number of years, just basically since the existence of this conference, but let's say this, 2 wins over marquee football programs with the history and tradition. It's been a long time since Beech Grove's experienced that.
Oh, certainly has. Certainly has. And, you know, when the kids rise to the occasion like they have, the neat thing is to watch the community get excited and, you know, for these kids who've worked so hard to accomplish what they've accomplished so far.
Well, let's break the ball game down a little bit, how things get started.
Well, I tell you, we really came out of the gate offensively. They did too. Number one for them, made a couple stellar catches to keep them in the ball game, and you know it was nip and tuck, you know, all the way through the fourth quarter. We were able to make some adjustments late in the second quarter to shut them down to really allow us to pull away in the second half.
Well, so you said some big catches early on. I'm going to assume here that if you've got Scecina throwing the football to try to keep pace, that's exactly where you want them, because that's not typically where their bread is buttered. Exactly,
exactly. They pride themselves on being a physical, run-oriented team, and our offense was, you know, as fast-paced, and we were scoring and moving the ball. So I felt they needed to do something they weren't necessarily comfortable with just to keep up, and they did a great job for a quarter.
So how exactly are you able to light the scoreboard up at the pace that you've been lighting it up? I mean, you're averaging over 40 points a contest.
You know, Chase Andrews, you know, Jamal Brumfield, Matt Bauman, you know, are all getting the headlines. Lamont Richardson ran for 230 yards, and you know, those guys are, like I said, getting the headlines, but it really starts up front. Our linemen are doing an incredible job blocking, protecting the quarterback. Then Chase Andrews is very savvy. We give him a lot of freedom on the field to read what's open. And the neat thing about our senior class is when you take one kid away, we have another kid or two to step up, and it makes us pretty hard to stop.
Now, it's interesting that for 3 weeks in a row now, I believe, you've been able to say positive things about your offensive line. And let's remind folks, can we express accurately the concern that you had about your offensive line week 1?
I doubt it. This certainly isn't the group we were, you know, kind of viewed playing for us at this point of the season.
Right.
But boy, these kids have stepped up. And they've worked hard at practice. They do everything we ask. And it's just full-out effort on Friday nights.
Well, it's got to be effort, and let's face it. I mean, everybody wants to have, say, for instance, what Lutheran has. It'd be nice to go 6'2", 6'3", 250, 275. But I think in this day and age, at the rate that the game has changed with all of the spread offenses, pistol formations, and things of that nature, it's as much about technique as it is just actual size and bulk.
It really is, and our kids have really bought into that, and especially with the type teams we play, with the athleticism and size up front, they find out quickly that technique is extremely important, and they've embraced that. Anthony Freemanis has done a great job working with these kids, so they've bought in, and I think they're starting to reap the benefits of that.
Well, you talk about Chase Andrews, and we've given Coach Freemanis a lot of credit for what he's been able to accomplish with the offensive line. Let's talk about the guy who's, in addition to you, who's kind of guiding the fortunes of Chase Andrews from a coaching standpoint, a young man who has a pretty good pedigree when it comes to playing quarterback in high school football.
Nick Perica does an outstanding job working with Chase. I think they're very similar type of athletes, having coached against Nick in his day. Quarterbacks, as you know, being a coach, are a little different bird. And I'm a big believer it takes a quarterback to work with a quarterback. And, you know, we have, I think, the best working with Chase. Certainly prepares him physically and technique-wise, but more importantly this year with our offense, prepares him mentally for what he sees each week.
And can we I don't think we can overstate, let's face it, Coach Perica, mid, maybe, you know, late 20s, that puts him in a position to where he can relate to a kid that's a sophomore. I think there's a wavelength there that might not exist if Chase was dealing exclusively with, say, an old guy like me.
Sure, and I fall in that category, unfortunately, also.
You carry it better than I do, Coach.
He relates very well to Chase, but, you know, he runs our offense. He relates well to all the kids and all the receivers, and it wasn't that long ago that he was strolling off the field, and he understands what it's like for those kids.
Well, again, obviously the defense played very, very well again this week. And I know you got a guy calling the shots defensively, Coach Cross. We talked about his enthusiasm and how infectious it is. Behind the scenes, folks, we don't just show up and play on Friday. We don't just practice Monday through Thursday. Again, Jim Cross, Troy Edwards do an outstanding job of preparing your ball club defensively each and every week.
Both those guys really do put a lot of time in during the weekend. I don't think people really realize outside of coaching the time and the preparation that goes into it. But both Troy and Jimmy have done an outstanding job of preparing our kids. And, you know, our kids have really taken over the attitude of Coach Cross. You know, the aggressiveness, the enthusiasm, the attack mentality. And, you know, that says a lot for a coach when they can, you know, kind of put out that aura and the kids just suck it right up and, you know, they're little Coach Cross is on the field.
You step outside of the conference and get ready for the battle of the Hornets, if you will, against the Howe Hornets. It's a football team you had some problems with last year because of their athleticism, and you said, well, everyone graduates seniors. They did too, but the cupboard's far from bare at Howe High School.
Their key players are all back. Very similar to the team they put on the field last year. They have a much tougher schedule, so the record doesn't necessarily portray the talent that they have, but they're dangerous. They're aggressive. They execute pretty well. We have our hands full Friday night.
Everybody healthy?
We're healthy right now.
So at this point of the season, 3-1, overall assessment of your football team?
Couldn't be happier where we're at right now. I'd love to have another shot at Lutheran, but we all know, you know, you can't get that back. But couldn't be happier where we are right now physically, but most importantly, mentally and emotionally.
And your kids still have a shot at the conference championship?
We're still there.
That'd be a nice boost getting it ready for the postseason. Does the season go by? I mean, does it go by as fast for you as it does for me? I mean, we're to the halfway point now.
It's a blur. It's a blur. You know, of course, you know, coaches are at it 7 days a week, so you just kind of get lost in one day to the next. But before you know it, it's sectional time, and here we are midway through it right now. So it does fly by.
So your hand ready to fall off from all the congratulatory handshakes? Your back a little sore from all the pats you've been getting in the hallways here?
We can handle a lot more of that. It's been exciting.
Well, congratulations to you and your kids on a big win, again, over conference rival Scecina. Best of luck against Howe.
Thanks, Mark.
That's Mark Weller, head football coach of the Beech Grove Hornets. And again, Beech Grove and Howe square off this Friday night. Coach Weller will be back with us next week for another edition of the Beech Grove Scouting Report. I'm Mark James. So long for now.